All right, so we are going live right now. We're also on YouTube. For you guys that don't know or don't know me, this is the Step Ahead Bootcamp class. You can follow me on all of your favorite socials at all right, so we're going live at Zeltman, or I'm sorry, at America's Gurus. It's America's Gurus. So that is available to you guys to also go and see all my things. I cannot stay the whole session. No worries, Barbara. So let me give you a quick overview of Step Ahead Bootcamp, what this is, what we do, because I know now we're going company wide with this, which I'm really excited about. Um, oh man, this is really not slideshow. Step Ahead Boot Camp. I wrote this about 11 years ago, and I've been adding to it. It is a 26-week training program for agents to teach them how to make a six-figure income in their first year in real estate. This is a training, mentoring, and coaching program. I did this by and my background on me, I have an MBA in digital marketing and a doctorate in organizational leadership. So I've been writing curriculum for many, many years, and I put this together for the very purpose of understanding that real estate training has been absolutely horrible. That's why the industry loses out 7 out of 10 people. I instituted this class in 2014. Since then, I have kept 8 out of 10 people that have gone through this program. For you guys that are joining for the first time, this is actually what would be officially the third week. I'd be happy to meet with you guys to the biggest part of this, which is putting together your business plan, just so you know how many people you need to talk to in a day to reach your financial goals. And I don't know if you guys have that or not. If you already have that, you're set. If you don't, you'd like to do that, just contact me at any time. If you don't have my contact info, I can put it in the chat. Just let me know. And you should have it anyway. But and that phone number that's on there is wrong, so don't write that down. This is I wrote this 11 years ago. That was my office number in New Jersey. But anyway, so the whole point with this is that you know every day when you get up in the morning how many people you need to talk to. And I'm going to do a quick review of last week. Last week's class, which was the first of this session, which is PFS, Prospecting for Success. This is Prospecting for Success 102, Prospecting FSBOs. Last week, we talked about the importance of prospecting. And I can sum that all up in a couple sentences, which is this. You need to know the number of people you need to speak to a day to reach your financial goals. We went through how important prospecting was, all those other things, but here it is in a nutshell. If you contact the amount of people that we figure out in your business plan, or you figured out in your business plan, 5 days a week, you set it up for 5 days a week that you need to talk to X number of people. If you talk to that number of people, you will be very successful in real estate. We'll make you a top 10% realtor if that's what you want. And that's what the goal of this course is. If you do not, if you wake up and say, I'll do it tomorrow, or I got to get this done, or I got 3 showings today, or whatever else, you will struggle or perhaps fail in real estate. And I'm being really blunt because, again, I went through this for an hour last week with you guys. And for you guys that weren't here, you're just getting the quick edition. But it's so important that's why I want to reiterate it, especially with a couple new people in here, that this comes back on you guys. I can teach you all the different things. I always tell people when they come into real estate, there are 3 things that make you successful in real estate. Number 1 is you have to be willing to work. I can't make you willing to work. If you don't want to work, or if you don't have that self-motivation, this business is unlike all others in that there's nobody punching a time clock. There's nobody making you do anything. If you want to go to we're in Florida. If you want to go, we're a couple miles from the beach. Yeah, or we're just talking about golfing here in the classroom. If I could say, hey, you know what, I'm going to go golfing today. I'll do it tomorrow. I can't change that. The second part, though, to make you successful in real estate is knowing what to say. When you come up against an expired listing, when you talk to a friend, when you talk to a for sale by owner, what exactly do you say to them? Well, this you have to be willing to learn, but somebody has to be willing to teach you. real estate as a whole don't teach this. Even the trainers that charge a ton of money give you very basic things and not plans that make it work. And we're going to give you some of those today. And today we're going to do for sale by owners. Finally, the last part of the review for this is you have to follow through and prioritize your day. The number one part, and again, this is what I go through in the first week when we do your business plan. The number one part of your day, the number one priority that absolutely has to have you make it important is making your number of contacts. If you need to talk to 7 people and have a real estate conversation with 7 people, that needs to come before going to a closing, before going to a listing appointment, before setting up your website, before your social media posts, before the mortgage person, she's not here so I can make fun of her, before the mortgage person's like, I need your help with this, any of that, that has to be your number one priority. And again, if you do those 3 things, you will, not might, not maybe, you will be a top producer. Again, if that's what you're looking to do. But as Barbara just said, there's so many distractions. This is the ADHD career, in my opinion. I haven't always been in this business. I started out owning health clubs down at the Jersey Shore, and then worked in the Medicare arena running a fitness product. This has been a totally different thing coming into this and seeing agents. You guys have stuff flying at you every which way, right? So what you need to do is focus. And the last thing I'm going to do before we get into today is say this. I tell people this all the time, but everything in your life is an advocate for your time and for your attention, right? If you're married, your husband or your wife, well, probably in your case is husbands, okay. Honey, can we take a date night? Honey, can we go to the beach? Honey, can we whatever? If you have kids, anybody have kids? I don't, but I've certainly seen my friends with kids. Craziness, right? Can you take me to baseball practice, soccer practice, game, this, that, whatever? There's an advocate for your time in every part of your life. Prospecting does not have an advocate for time, okay? So you have to be that advocate. I'm putting my stuff in for you guys. You have to say, I don't care what happens. If the house is burning down around me, I'm going to spend 2-3 hours a day to ensure I make my contacts. So, okay, now that we're up to date, let's get into today's training. Again, that was kind of what we went through the first 2 weeks in a nutshell. Prospecting for Success 102, listing for sale by owners. If you can mask your FSBO listings, and I want you guys to realize that the numbers that I put in up here were put in, actually, I updated them once and they're still way out of date. We're put in back in the market, one of the worst real estate markets in the history of our country, because it has you only making a $4,500 commission. Unless you're selling a really small condo or townhome, your commissions are going to be higher than this. So these numbers, my point being, these numbers are understated. But if you could get just 20 FSBO listings a year that turn into sales, ones that you sell, with an average commission of $4,500, that would add $90,000 to your bottom line. I wouldn't say double that number now, but it's very easy to do $150,000. A couple of you may know her. I don't know if anybody here knows Kaylin, but I hired a girl a couple of years ago, 23, out of school. She took this class right out of college, took this class, started calling FSBOs. She made $180,000 her first year. She made over $350,000 her second year. She's now in her third year, and she's going to make over $500,000 this year. Other than now, she's starting to get referrals. All of her business is just talking to FSBOs. Why do I bring that up? I bring that up because FSBOs are everywhere. Most realtors are afraid of FSBOs. They don't want to talk to FSBOs. They're afraid of getting their head bit off. They're afraid of all types of different things. After today and after the scripts I'm going to give you guys, which I'm going to also put into the chat because I know Barbara's got to leave early, so I make sure you have them. So if I'm slightly distracted, it's just because I'm looking at my drive and getting you these things. But Point being, if you just worked FSBOs, you can make an incredible living, and most other realtors won't do it. And so there you go, guys. It's in the meeting chat. And I'll print them for you. Okay, before you guys go there, here. Yep. So to be good at FSBOs, you have to learn the right techniques, scripts, and dialogue to convert FSBOs into listings. One of the things I do not have in here, which I'm happy to share with you guys, is I created a 12-touch in 30-day program, which we are finding we are getting about 8 out of 10 FSBOs sooner or later, not in the first try, but sooner or later from this program. And I'd be happy to share that with you guys as well. That's something that we go over in classes that we don't necessarily do on Zoom here. We have some mentoring classes. One's called Conversation Mastery, where we get together and go through what to do. So I'd be happy to share those with you too. In fact, I can do that at the end of class if somebody reminds me. Okay, so what do you need to do with FSBOs? What's going to make you successful? Number one is you got to pick up the phone. Step one is simple. Real estate is a contact sport. And I need you to overcome your fear of the phone. One other thing I didn't say before we get rolling in this is the reason I have a thing just for FSBOs is not just because there's so many out there and there's so much money and opportunity. It's because the techniques that we're going to talk about here, you can use for anyone you call. We're going to go over expired listings separately and whatever else. But if you're good and you master FSBOs, you can master, you'll be set to do everything. And if you follow the acronym that's in the breakout session that I gave you, and that what I'm going to teach you today, it's called IICCC. It's an acronym. You will be successful on any telephone conversation you have. But the first thing is you have to overcome your fear of the phone. I've had agents that just to pick up the phone and dial, and even if they hang up when they whatever, it's a process. Everybody's different. Some people are fearless. They pick up the phone and they go. I had a girl once that worked for me that was looking at her phone like it was going to come out and bite her. She was so afraid of it, and everywhere in between. So forget about getting the appointment and focus on getting comfortable on the phone. Don't be afraid to fail. Learn from your mistakes. That was when she said, what if I look dumb? I'm like, okay, there's a billion other people in the world. They're not going to remember even who you are in 30 seconds of hanging up with you. You got to stop attaching yourself to the result, especially in the beginning. Once you're comfortable, we can start bringing that back in. So don't be afraid to push yourself and push yourself. Step two, learn to get the appointment. Remember that you need to have purpose when you're on the phone. Your purpose on the phone is to get the appointment. I'll never forget, and giving you a bad example of this myself, I was calling around a neighborhood. I was teaching agents how to do this. We were in a prospecting power hour, and I said, I'm going to call my neighborhood. And I got caught on the phone with an old lady for about a half hour about a street light that was out. By the way, 4 people on that call talked about the street light being out. But anyway, I got caught because this was a lonely old lady that was happy to have somebody to talk to. And again, it was nice to talk to her. I got to know her, this, that, whatever. She sadly passed away, and then we ended up getting the listing so it would have worked out. But the point being, you have to have purpose when you're on the phone. If you ever heard the straight line persuasion, Jordan Belfort, if you ever saw the Wolf of Wall Street, it's a filthy movie, but the sales part of it's actually pretty good. He teaches that you want to be going in a straight line from where you are here to getting the sale, and never come too far high or too far low where you're getting zigzagged off the topic. Be cognizant when you're on the phone that you're there to get an appointment. And if things start going awry, always bring them back and control the conversation. Step two, again, IICCC. If you learn this for all of your real estate conversations, you will be successful. And what they are is I for identify. Second I is introduce. The C is for clarify. The second C is for commitment. And the last C is call to action. Let's talk about these and how they work. Identify. What does this mean and why is this important? I had this happen while I was on the phone doing a real estate training. I don't think we were training. We were in one of our Thursdays where we were going around, and it's an accountability call, which you guys are more than invited to join us for, because it is part of this program every Thursday at 11 o'clock. Um, I was on the phone doing this. I had my earbud in, and somebody showed up at my front door. And I went to the front door, and the guy started talking to me. Hey man, blah 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 blah, trying to sell me something. I don't know if it was windows or a roof or whatever. Whatever it was, or exterminator, whatever. He was trying to sell me something. And I immediately said to him, "Oh man, dude, I'm just here on vacation. The homeowners aren't here right now, but they'll be back later." I am the homeowner, right? But what did he fail to do? He failed to identify that he has the right person before asking. He should have started, "Are you the homeowner?" Now, could I have still lied to him, seeing he was a salesperson or whatever else? Yeah, but I probably wouldn't have, and most people won't. It would have given me a better chance. When you're on the phone with the FSBO, you want to always do this. And here's how this conversation goes. I'm going to give you both sides of it. Hello, the person picks up the phone. Hello. Hi, I'm Bill Zeltman from Century 21 Integra. I was calling about your house. It's for sale. Oh, you know what? My dad's not here right now. Okay. Meanwhile, that was the homeowner. That's not identifying. Now, how about this? Hi, I was calling about your house that's for sale. Oh, okay. Is it still available? Yeah, it's still available. Oh, are you the owner? Yeah, I'm the owner. I've identified that I have the right person. I've also psychologically gotten his hopes up. He thinks he's got a buyer on the line. I got a live one, right? So he thinks he has a buyer on the line. So when your first part of calling someone or showing up at their door or whatever else, take the stupid name tag off. You don't work at. I've had arguments with this. Got to get off the topic, but the name tag to me looks like you work at Best Buy. I always tell realtors, for you guys that don't know me, you need to look at yourself like a lawyer and an accountant, a service person that's a professional. When you go into Merrill Lynch and talk to, is Merrill Lynch even still in business? I have Charles Schwab. When I go in and talk to my Schwab advisor, is he wearing a name tag? No, he's dressed professionally. Anyway, get back to this. Even if you wear one, take it off and show up at the house and make sure before you tell them who you are, that you're talking to the homeowner. Oh, are you the homeowner? And see, the way I did that, I'm going to do it one more time. Hi, I was calling about, and this is a phone call. Hi, I'm calling about your house that's for sale. Yes. Oh, are you the one selling it? Yeah, I'm the owner. Oh, is it still available? Yeah, it's still available. See, they're going to get excited because they think they've got a buyer. And as we all know, FSBOs don't sell these houses themselves, and they very rarely get leads. So if they think they've got a lead, you're going to get their emotions up. Why do I want their emotions up? Because I've got to go to step two, which is our second I, which is I have to identify myself, right? I can't, in our ethics, we can't sit there and hide who we are. It's not, something that we can do. But I want to say this before I tell you how to do this, is the second I, introducing yourself, and the first C, which is clarifying the reason for your call. I like to call it the great run-on sentence. So we're going to do two at once. Oh, hi. My name is Bill Zeltman. I'm calling from Century 21 Integra. And the reason I'm calling is, are you willing to pay a commission if I were to bring a buyer? So I've done introducing myself and clarifying all in one long run-on sentence. So I've identified that I have the homeowner, I've introduced who I am, and I've clarified the reason for my call. You can use any of these things here. The one thing that you want to make sure while you're doing this too is that they're not listed with another broker. Chances are, if they're still saying for sale by owner, they are not, but you just want to double check that. I like using the "are you willing to pay a buyer for a sale?" This is what one of the things we call as a graduated listing strategy, because 99% of people will pay a broker. They just don't want to list with the broker because they're cheap, right? We're going to go through the three major reasons why people don't use a FSBO in a couple minutes here, but So now that you've clarified this, what we want to do is very quickly, no matter what their response is, move on to what they're committed to. If you don't ever take anything from any of my classes, this 26-week program, my 52-week program that we have for the next year for you guys, for whatever else, if you don't take anything else from me, take this. The most important thing that you can learn in real estate from your clients is what they're committed to. Okay? If I'm talking to somebody in the grocery store line and I tell them, I mentioned I'm a realtor and I go to give them a card. Oh, where do you live yet now? Do you like it there? Are you planning on staying there? There's two things going on, especially here with the FSBO, but in any conversation. If I can get you to tell me about yourself, right? And open up, I go from being a salesperson to a human being, and you end up liking me. So if I can hear that you're planning on retiring and you want to move to the beach, if I hear that you want to move to the Poconos, I don't know how close you are to the Poconos, Andrea, but if you want to move, out of the city and up to where you are, you love Pennsylvania, but you're sick of living in Philadelphia, and so you're looking to move up that, whatever the story is, if that person starts opening up and telling you that story, you're going to build a relationship with them, and that's what this is all about. And you're going to be able to be a coach and advisor to them, which we're going to talk about as we go further and further in these types of things, especially as we talk about how to do a listing conversation in future sessions. So finding out what they're committed to and getting them talking about themselves is going to open up, but it's also going to do a second thing. It's going to give you the ammunition you need to get that listing. If you tell me that you're retiring in 2 months and you want to be out of here and you're a for sale by owner, I know you're not going to sell it in 2 months. It's probably going to take you 12 months, which is about what it takes for sale by owner. And I also know there's like an 80 to 90% chance that you're not going to, and you're going to list with an agent. Now, I'm not going to say that to you because I don't want to go toe to toe with you, which is what most agents do. And let me just stop and say the reason that most agents don't do for sale by owners is they go in with a fact-finding, know-it-all attitude that I don't want to say names, but Tom Ferry or Brian Buffini or one of those guys teach, and a lot of those guys teach, which is absolutely the wrong approach. Well, statistically that 8 out of 10 for sale by owners list with an agent. Statistically that 20%, they sell for 20, if they do sell it, it's 20% less than what me as a realtor could have gotten, and I'm only going to charge a 6% commission. And they go through fact. Do you know what the for sale by owner does when a person starts talking to them like that? They put their hands over their ears and stomp their feet like a kid at Toys R Us wanting a toy. Seriously, they don't listen. So we're going to throw all that stuff that causes bad situations and bad conversations out the window, and we're going to be a coach and an advisor, because we're not a salesperson. We're coaches and advisors. Again, that's why I don't like the name tag. Take it off. So when you get into this conversation and get them talking like this, we're not going into that stuff. We're finding out what it is they want to do by finding out what they're committed to. And once we know those things, we can use those things to realize this person wants to be moved in 3 months. That doesn't mean I have to get them today, but you know what? When a couple more weeks go by, guess what's going to happen? They're going to start to feel more desperate. And as I continue my relationship with them, sooner or later, and I give them things of value, which is a huge part of this, they're going to want to list their house, and I'm going to be the person they use. So again, always be conversational, never like a presentation. Just find out what they're talking to. If they start saying, well, I hate realtors, or if they say something, oh, blah, 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 I'll never list. Don't fight with them. Everybody else wants to go right at them. Well, you say that, but blah, blah, blah. Factually, again, that's what caused them to do it. Ignore it and go back to them. Well, we're not going to list for the realtor. No problem. Let me ask you. You said you wanted to go to Clearwater Beach. Are you looking for a townhome? Are you looking for a single family? You want to be on the water, or do you want to be, blah, blah, blah? And get them talking about those things. They'll open up. They'll let their guard down. All right. Finally, you're going to close. Now, we're not closing in the sense of what, with a car dealership. What can I do to make you take this car home today? No, that's not what we do. But what you want to do is remind them that they're committed to selling, and you have resources that you'd like to share with them. It's a little bit different than what's in the PowerPoint because I've updated this a little bit. But you have resources you'd like to share with them. Can you come over, take a look at the house? You promise you'll bring it back. You're part of the second largest real estate group in the world. You have 1,800 agents, and I'll check with all those agents, probably close to 2,000 agents now, 2,000 agents, that I'm going to take this back and see if they have a buyer. Did you know that the average realtor has about 15 buyers at any given time that they're working with? Multiply 15 by 2,000. That's a lot of buyers are going to find out about your property if you give me 15 minutes to come look at it. You're going to get in the door. Now that you're in the door, I'm going to give you another thing that we do now. And let me put this in the chat while we're talking. But this is something that I've updated from the stuff that I gave you already. But this is the tools that I gave you here in Activity 1, the IICCC, is how you get this conversation going to get the appointment. And like I say to you, this will work. It will get you in most doors. I had an agent a couple of weeks ago come in, and she said, Bill, hey, she came we do a conversation mastery where we go through and practice scripts, and then we have what's called prospecting power hour right after. And she said, hey, would you mind just modeling one for me? And I said, absolutely. And I'm going to give you this two guys. I'm going to give you these two. Would you mind modeling these for me? And I said, absolutely not. My first call, I made an appointment for. And on her second call, she made a second appointment. We weren't in here for 20 minutes. This works. It's just people don't do it. All right. So I just sent you a bunch more stuff. Buy a binder. If you stick with these classes, you'll have a full binder of every resource you could ever need in real estate to keep these things. And again, for you guys, it comes in the classroom. We'll print them for you. Or if you want them digitally, I'll do it either way. Okay. So you need to practice IICCC. What I'm going to tell you is get yourself a script partner. If you don't have one, get with me. I will get you a script partner. They do not have to be from your office. They do not have to be somebody you meet face to face. Just somebody that's committed to meeting with you a couple days a week, 5 days a week's best, but whatever you guys can schedule out for 15 minutes to review things like how to do IICCC. When we get to the listing conversation, I'm going to teach you another acronym called REAL, okay? I do these acronyms so you guys easily remember where you are in conversations and guide yourself and stay in control. So practice this IICCC. The biggest part of it I really need you to practice is the first I, because every time I'll teach this till I'm blue in the face, and if you think I'm going too long on this, this is why. The first time I get somebody that comes into practice, what do? Hi, I'm Bill from Century 21 Integra, from the Gulf Palm Home Team. And I'm like, guys, and I'll mess with them. I used to work with a broker. He would come in for the trainings, and we'd do the sample of it. And he'd be like, no, and he had white hair. He was in his 60s. No, it's my grandfather selling the house. And of course, everybody laughed, but it would get the point across that if you go and bust out who you are, you're going to get blown off. You're going to get lied to. So practice these, and I'll work with you guys. Happy to do anything I can to get you guys comfortable with this. So the 12 and 30 FSBO program, which I gave you, has been completely updated. What this does is it allows you to touch a for sale by owner in 30 days. I want to change a mindset right now. I do not want you. You're never going to hear a broker say this. I'm going to say it. I do not want you to show up at a for sale by owner's house expecting to walk away with a signed listing agreement the first time. Because if you get pushy, they're going to go like this and they're going to throw you out. And even though you might get 1 out of 10, 1 out of 20, 1 out of 50, whatever it is, I'd rather you get more than that. I'm not telling you you're not going to get a listing the first time you go. It happens all the time. Not all the time, but it happens a decent amount of times where you go and the people are just like, yeah, I like this guy or this girl, let's list. But I don't want you going there with that in mind. I want you to go prepared to do that every time, having everything with you you need to leave with a signed listing. But I don't want you going with that mindset. What I want you to do is go in that mindset of I'm going to get to know these people better, get them to like and trust me. So in a typical, what you'll do is go into the house, take a tour. If you can get, if it's a husband and wife, you can get them both on the tour. That's all the better. Just like we'll talk about in listing conversations, because you can get both of their opinions of the house and build, more importantly, build a rapport with them. If you can't, that's fine too. When you are done, you give them a CMA, okay? Which again is in the instructions that I just gave you guys there. You give them a CMA. Say, listen, this is what, as you know, a professional realtor, and I always tell people as a broker price opinion, because I'm a broker, and you can say I have my broker look this over, or I talk to somebody who does appraisals, or whatever you want to do. Make sure that you let them know that the comps you give them are verified, that you are giving them what your price opinion is of their house. Hopefully, a lot of FSBOs do go under, your price is a little bit higher. It doesn't always happen, whatever. Some people are, whatever. You guys have been in the business, All right. So once you've given them this information, you then say to them, now I'm going to take this back to my buyers. I'm also going to take this back to my agents. And you can bring this to our Thursday meeting. That's why I always tell people, be honest about this. If you go to one of these FSBOs, come in and tell all the agents that are in here about this. And then you've kept your word, which is to me, that's a very important thing. You've kept your word and you've shared it with other agents in our company. Next thing you do before you go, anybody here a Seinfeld fan? Anybody watch Seinfeld? Anybody old enough to watch Seinfeld? Okay. Well, there was a Seinfeld episode. It was kind of funny where George, one of the characters, said, women are totally turned off to me, but I grow on them. And if I can be with them, if I can be in contact with them like 3 times, all of a sudden they go from me disgusting them to me liking them. Well, it's because, and what he would do is he'd leave things behind. He'd purposefully leave his set of keys in a woman's apartment, or he would leave a hat behind, something that made him an excuse to come back. I want you to have an excuse to come back. So every time you talk to your FSBO, you're going to have your excuse for the next time talking to them. So what you want to do in these materials is make them for you. You'll see the first material is what I call a seller security checklist. This checklist was created to scare the heck out of the seller. They don't think about the fact that they're bringing in unqualified people into the house, somebody that could do horrible things to the wife or the kids, or rob them, or whatever else. This does that, and it's all with a smile on your face. So you're going to drop that off. So let's say you have your conversation Wednesday, Thursday, whatever is when you go and meet in the house. The next Monday, drop that off. Give them a day or two, maybe Wednesday, Thursday, call them. Hey, I dropped off that seller security checklist. Did you have any questions about that? Get in a conversation. Build the rapport. Oh, you know what? I got something else you'll really like. Next Monday, drop off, or something you need. Drop off, we have a mortgage thing of why it's important to get a pre-approval. Have your mortgage partner on it, okay? Get them in touch with, drop it off. Then say, hey, can I set an appointment for us at Cheryl? I don't know if you guys use NewFed up there, but, for us at Cheryl. And Tiffany, I've got your mortgage guy. He's, going to do a bunch of stuff for you. I'm going to give him your information. So if you get some weird email, that's who it is. Anyway, you're going to then maybe set up an appointment with them where they can pre-screen anybody that comes in and get them pre-approved. Of course, this is going to help the mortgage person, and it's going to get you more cemented. And the mortgage person is going to say, yeah, Tiffany really knows her stuff. If you ever need to list, and it's going to be a third party endorsing you. Okay. So from there, you're going to follow up and again, say, hey, can I set you up with the mortgage person? Blah, blah, blah. Okay. Then We're going to see where they are. We're going to give them showing tips the next Monday. Call them Wednesday or Thursday. Do you have any questions on the showing tips? Integra just put out a great thing on it, and I'm going to put it together. I don't have it yet, but I will put it together. I have my own showing tips, which I gave you in there, and they're fine. Integra put one out, was better than mine. Make your own. Doesn't matter. But you give them showing tips, and then you call them again on Thursday. How did it go? Da, da, da. Then, hey, have you thought about running an open house? And you may have to move the open house one because they may be doing an open house before this. And it doesn't matter what order you do this one in. Although I always recommend the seller security checklist early on, first or early on as the mortgage. Yes, we're running an open house. Let me drop off open house tips. Drop off open house tips. Then call them. Do you need any help? Do you have any questions on the open house tips? That Monday, Thursday, do that. Then the open house. You show up at the open house during the last half hour of it, knowing darn well that probably nobody came to see their house, right? We run open houses. We're advertised everywhere. We're lucky to get a couple of people sometimes. You know, it depends on the market and whatever. But if for sale by owner, they have no, you know, they put a couple of things in the grocery store, right? So they probably aren't getting good traction from it. So what I want you to do, and this is important, go into the MLS, and I want you to take note of every property in that town that went under contract that weekend. There's not a lot, spread out a little bit. You can do the counties in Florida are too big. I don't know how they are where you guys are, but you can do the surrounding area. You can do whatever you want. So when you go in and say, hey, how's your open house going? You're upbeat, you're happy, you're excited. Well, we didn't get the amount of people we wanted. Or they may lie to you. They may lie to you, and that's fine too. Oh, wow. Did you get it under contract? They're probably going to be honest. No. Wow, I'm kind of surprised because we being every realtor, because they're not using a realtor. So we're counting RE/MAX, Coldwell Banker, Century 21, ERA, blah, blah, blah. Every realtor, because we are all realtors, we put 22 houses under contract over the weekend in this town. You know, say they do it more personally, name it a town, whatever else. What's this going to do? They're going to feel deflated and they're going to be like, wow, I can't do this myself. They're going to list with you. And you've been giving them stuff, giving them stuff, giving them stuff now for 4 weeks, if you're following this program, right? At the end of this, you can find other things of value to give them to continue this, or just stay in touch with them each week and just say, hey, how's it going? Any updates, any price changes, anything I can take back to my realtors about the property? Just stay in touch with them until they list. Statistically, almost 9 out of 10 for sale by owners list with a realtor. How many other realtors are going to do all the things I just told you to do? That's right, none, unless they've been through this class. So what I want you to do is do these things to build the relationship with them, touch them over and over and over. There was a great study that I think we had in last week's class about how many touches it takes for someone to make a decision and how few salespeople actually do this. And I don't remember them all off the top of my head, so some of this is paraphrased, but I do remember this part of it. 48% of salespeople don't make a second call. It goes down to like 26% make a third call. And it drops down to like 10% make 4, or it was like 18% make 4, and it was like 5 or more was less than 10, it was 10%. On the flip side, for people to make a buying decision, less than 10% of people make a buying decision after the first call. And it was small, small, small. It wasn't until calls 5 through 10 where people started to make a decision. And when you looked, only 10% of realtors are making call 6, call 5, call 6, call 7, call 8. I'm giving you an easy way with plenty of excuses to talk to people 12 times in 30 days and be that person that they built a relationship with. And again, to finish this, I'm giving you all this technical stuff, but the most important part of this is to find out what that person's committed to and know they want to move where, when, why, what their dreams are. Because not only will that open them up and make them like you because they're telling you their intimate dreams, but it'll also give you the ammunition that when they say, yeah, we're just not getting this sold, you can say, yeah, I know, and you really wanted to be moved before Christmas, that you can kind of pop that stuff in there to get them to make a decision and list with you. The second thing that you can do if you're not a phone person is you can do this same idea knocking on their door. The biggest thing to be important knocking on the door, again, take that name tag off. And sometimes, just look like a normal I don't how do I say that nicely? Look like a normal person, don't look like a realtor. You may want to be dressed like I'm dressed right now, like I'm going out. Like I always look like I'm coming off the 19th hole because normally I'm a pretty avid golfer for you guys that don't know me. But I noticed if I was going to their house, I wouldn't be wearing my button-up shirt that I might wear if I was, doing or this real estate training in front of other than my own agents here. Don't go overdressed because you're going to look like a salesperson. Don't go looking like a bum. I once had an agent. Oh, Tiffany might know her. We used to call her Smelly Kelly. She would show up to the office with a tank top, no bra, unshaved hair. Unshaved hair. Look at me. My hair's shaved, not hers. Uncombed hair, and smelled like she hadn't taken a bath in 2 days. And, if you want to come in the office that way, whatever. But then she'd go out on an appointment like that. Pretty young girl. She was in her 20s. But yeah, a couple of my realtors say, oh, Smelly Kelly's here. And move to the other side of the conference room so they didn't have to, yeah.
I don't know Smelly Kelly.
That's why I won't do that. Anyway, she will not be coming to Coldwell Banker with us when we open there. I love her, but she's, a mess. All right. What was my point? My point is that look like you're potentially a buyer when you show up at a for sale by owner's house, and make sure, no matter what, that when you're at that house, you have to ensure that you're talking to a decision maker before you tell them who they are. The other part is at their door, they could slam a door in your face, right? You don't want to do that. If you get them talking a little bit, because people they're real quick going to want to get away from you and close the door. If you get the conversation going a little bit, and again, use what I taught you in the beginning there, which I'll go over again real quick. Hi. I was here about your house that's for sale. I see you got a for sale sign. Yeah. Is it still available? Yeah, it's still available. Or hold on, let me get my dad. Right? And now I get there. Hey, is it still available? Oh, how many bedrooms do you have? Asking a couple questions like that gets them excited and psychologically gets them more excited, creates endorphins in their brain, right? So they're less likely to slam the door when you do your I and your second I and your C is a run-on sentence. This is Bill Zeltman, Century 21 Integra. The reason I'm calling, or the reason I'm here, is would you be willing to work if you have buyers? I have buyers that are interested in houses like this, blah, 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 however you want to say it. The graduated listing approach, again, this is kind of what I just taught, but this is a little bit more, just kind of goes through it more. I really did, by what I added, go through those things and use those steps. You're not a failure if you go to a for sale by owner and just take the tour of the house and make friends with them and promise them resources. You're a failure, however, if you don't follow up with the resources. You have to have a follow-up plan and put it in place. You may get the list the first time, but don't go in with that expectation. Go in with the expectation that it's going to take me a little bit. Always follow up. And again, I kind of already went through this stuff because, again, as I've rewritten this program, it made more sense to talk about the way we just did. But these are other ideas after you get through those touches that I gave you, after you've done the open house. Interest rate changes, giving them a moving checklist. We already went through how to run an open house, which is in there. When do I call a for sale by owner? Believe it or not, the best time to call is Sunday night or Monday night. Why? Anybody know why? They had another weekend where nobody came to see their house. Ding, ding, ding. You're absolutely right. Remember, you always want to be positive, happy and positive. Have a smile on your face. People don't teach this anymore. When you're on the phone, if you have a smile on your face, people can actually hear that smile through the phone. It comes through. Your attitude could pep them up and you'll get the listing. I gave you a script for a voicemail if they don't answer the phone. I do have it here. This is what I was talking about. Maybe I didn't do this last week. Oh, guys. Oh. All right. 48% of sales are made, or 40%, 8% of salespeople never follow up with a prospect. 25% second call and stop. 12% make 3 and stop, and only 10% make more than 3 contacts. 2% of sales, I was wrong. 2%, only 2% of sales are made in the first contact. 3% on the second, 5% on the third, 10% of sales are made in the fourth contact, and 80% 5th to 12th. I'm not going to ask you to raise hands. When was the last time you called somebody 5 to 12 times? Not somebody that you were just, whatever, a prospect that you didn't know. I don't know if you have Wawa up your way. I've been a lifelong Wawa fan. That's what I'm drinking here. Any questions on this? I'm going to just open up real quick for questions on this sales statistics because the follow-up is so important, guys. I'm going to let you sit there and stare at this for a minute. The whole reason you may have been struggling in real estate, if you're someone that struggles, is just on this slide in front of you. You didn't follow up. Yeah, these techniques and everything I taught you about how to do these things all work. But even if you didn't do those things, just following up works. Step 4 is get the listing. In a couple of weeks, we're going to start with really digging in deep on what we call powerful listing conversations. I'm going to teach you how to get listing appointments, 24 out of 25 listing appointments you go on. I have 2 agents that I trained. One in 2000, has a streak going back to 2015, the other 2016. They are both, one's in Monmouth County, New Jersey. The other one is in Burlington County, New Jersey. They're both Circle of Excellence Award winners year in, year out. One of them has been the top realtor in Monmouth County for the last 30 years. Neither of them, since one in 2015, one in 2016, have gotten a listing appointment that they've walked out without having the listing signed. They use the techniques from this class. In fact, Helen, the one that's been doing this for 30, 40 years, however many years she's been doing this, helped me craft this when I was writing this and some of the more advanced ones. Just so because I said, hey, that's what I did. I studied top realtors. And I didn't mention that to you guys that are new. The way I wrote this curriculum was I studied top 10% of agents around the country and around Canada, even talked to somebody in Canada, and learned what they did every day. And what I found out is they all did the same things. They all do exactly what I'm teaching you. The reason they're making $300, $500, $1 million a year is because they all do the same things every day. And one of the big things we talked about this last week is they all schedule 3 hours a day of uninterrupted time to prospect. Where do I find a FSBO? This completely needs to be updated. One of the top places now is Zillow Moves and Facebook Marketplace. All of these other sites that are on here, I believe all of them are still going and are also good sources, except for Backpage, which was seized by the government for illicit whatever. Don't go there. Print sources have become a tough place because people just don't use print sources anymore. Not to say there may not be any, but they're not necessarily where those things are. Okay. Any questions on any of this? I'm gonna, yeah, I'll get all the different things. Do you want me to email them to you, or do you want them printed, or do you want both? Email? Okay. All right. Anybody on here? Anything else? All right. Well, thank you for coming. I am scheduled to start the 12 o'clock today. For anybody that's interested, you certainly don't have to. The 12 o'clock is what's called Step Ahead for Life. It's after you've taken the 26 weeks. It's a program that goes basically the entire year. I was actually planning on starting it in the new year because I'm gonna have to play around with the weeks. Because some of it is seasonal. In other words, one of the things that normally would go on in that class now in the ending ones is how to work through the holidays and how to get things. And I do want to share this with you guys because we do have a couple minutes here. Um, the holidays are here, right? Thanksgiving starts. This Wednesday night is the biggest party night of the year, and a lot of people go out. No, look at that dog. It's one of the biggest party nights of the year. People are out seeing friends. College kids are home, whatever. College kids aren't really our market, but point being is people go and they start socializing. When you go socialize, you need to do my 3-3 rule, which I'll go through real quick. You need to have business cards all over the place. Most people, I had a great realtor. She worked for me for many, many years. She was making a couple $100,000, $300,000 a year. She would never have any closings for through the entire spring, and her year it would look like her year started. She had a bunch in January, and then she wouldn't do anything again until June, and then she'd go on a slew through the rest of the year. And the reason was, and she was the first one to admit it, she stopped working somewhere around mid-November and said, "I'll get back to it in January." If you stop prospecting, we talked about this a little bit last week. If you stop prospecting, you are going to run into a situation where you're going to stop having business. And I don't care how long you've been in this. Sure, you're going to get some referrals here and there or whatever, but she did this every year. And I said, what a darn shame, because the type of work that you can do through the holidays is the most fun work you'll do all year long. Load your pocket with business cards, or your purses, ladies, and just have the 3-3 conversation, which I'll tell you if you don't know what it is in a second. 3-3 conversation with everybody you run into. So you're talking to your friends and you're networking, you're working the room, you're at a Christmas party, you're at a Thanksgiving dinner, you're at a whatever. And what's the first thing? Your name. They probably already know your name, but maybe somebody new. And always work the room for people you don't know and introduce yourself. Number 2, what you do for a living. I'm a realtor, Coldwell Banker. I'm a realtor at Century 21, whatever. Number 3, ask for business. Ask if they or any of their friends have a real estate need, and if they do, would they contact you? So all you're doing is introducing yourself. They don't know who you are. Reminding them you're in real estate, no matter who they are. You need to do that with people you know and don't know. And we're telling them for the first time. And asking if they have business or they have a friend that has business. If you do this through the holidays, you're going to see people through the holidays that you don't see the rest of the year, right? I teach this same thing because you'll forget it by then around the 4th of July. A lot of people go to a 4th of July picnic or barbecue, whatever, and they see people they don't see the rest of the year. It works. It's not hard. And actually can be a lot of fun. And you can walk out knowing everybody in the room.
Really interesting and kind of awkward for me.
Okay.
I went to a memorial for a person in my neighborhood who passed away recently, and in a conversation with the lady, mentioned that I'm a realtor now here in Florida, and she asked me. She said, I have some friends that are looking to sell in the next month or so. And she asked me, and I felt weird for about a half a second. And then I thought, well, she asked.
Yep.
So I gave her cards.
So 2 funny stories about that. Number 1, they call Florida God's waiting room. There's a reason for that because we're all old, right? Yeah, I go to the theater. I have theater tickets. There's a Broadway theater here. I went on Saturday night and I ended up sitting with one of the star's fiancés, who also went to the University of Tampa. So we ended up hitting it off and whatever. Of course, she was 35 years younger than me, 30 years younger than me. But she was class of 16. I was class of 94, whatever. But I said, you really ruined this for me. I said, I come here. I'm the youngest person that comes here. Because everybody there's 30 years older than me. But anyway, point being, we had an undertaker that we talked to, that was a realtor. And I said, dude, you are in the right business. There are a couple people that you guys can always hook up with. You should hook up with. One is undertakers, and 2 is divorce attorneys. Both are morbid and horrible and whatever. But the truth is there's so many listings that come out of both of those. All right, any other questions?